warning they are getting ready for war, with even more announcements today from the EU, Germany, France, and the United Kingdom. Things are really heating up, ladies and gentlemen, so without further ado, let me get you up to date. Today's first story then comes from the EU's Defence Commissioner, and he has said, and I quote, that he's now planning a missile tour of Europe to push for countries to start manufacturing more long-range weapons, and that the EU is preparing for war without the support of the USA. And of course, he said a few more things around that, a lot of negative things about the US, which again, I don't understand why they keep doing this, these politicians. Why say such negative things about your, as it were, if it comes to war, the US will be the protectors of most NATO countries. He went on to say then, and I quote, Europe needs a 100,000 strong European military force without the backing of America. Also, in the news today is saying that Trump has handed over 3 key NATO bases in Europe. So I had to look into this as usual, because what the media says and what's true is often very different. So has Trump just given away these 3 key NATO bases, these sort of key locations? No. He's basically done what was part of the plan for a long time, which is to hand over the control to European countries, and that's what's actually happened. And if you want the specifics then, Britain is about to take over the Atlantic Command HQ in Norfolk, Virginia, while Italy has been given responsibility for the southern flank at its Naples base. Germany and Poland will oversee Joint Force Command Brunssum in the Netherlands. And Trump's very clear. He said this is simply about the European countries taking on and sharing the responsibility, as opposed to the USA protecting Europe, in effect. The next big one then today was a crazy read. It's too long, actually. I wouldn't even recommend you read the article because it's long and boring. But the article is Germany preparing for war. Yes, they just come out and say it. And this was following the top military officer, General Carsten Brewer, doing a tour of some of the Baltic states at the moment. And he said that we need to prepare for war with Russia by 2029 at the latest, but he wants to be ready by next year. So let me pull out some of the key things from the article then. He said that Parliament passed a law requiring 18-year-old men to complete military questionnaires and medical exams for, well, it's conscription basically, starting next year in early 2027. He said currently we have a force of 184,000 troops, and he wants to increase it 20,000 this year, 60,000 more by 2035, plus 200,000 reservists. It's also quoted here in the article that Germany's military intelligence agency estimates that within the next 3 years, Russia will have amassed enough weaponry and trained enough troops to be able to cross Europe. And the general said that a Russian attack could come at any moment, so we need to be ready. Now, let me know in the comments below what you think about this. Do you genuinely believe that Russia is preparing to take all of Europe, like next year or whatever their forecasts say, in the next 2 to 3 years? I'll be honest with you, I don't buy it. I don't think that is the plan at all, but yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. Do you genuinely think that this is Russia's plan? They want to take all of Europe? Yeah, okay. Now, the thing in the article that I found really interesting, I'll give you my perspective on this. It says that basically the general has been waging a multi-front campaign to rally Germany's politicians, business people, soldiers, and the general public in an effort to speed up rearmament and make them the strongest military in Europe. It says to prepare to fight Russia in order to protect the German people. It's always the same sort of play. You notice this with any of the generals and all of the politicians. They always say, we need to go to war in order to protect the people. It's a kind of oxymoron if you think about it. Right now, the people are fine. No one's dying apart from in Russia and Ukraine, those two countries. But yet Germany says we need to go to war, therefore resulting in mass deaths, in order to protect it doesn't make sense. It really doesn't. And for those of you who are new here, I was a soldier. I served 10 years in the British Army. So I can kind of get a perspective of, well, I can give you a perspective of military people. And that is that anything you look at, any problem can be solved with a hammer, right? So a general doesn't even think of diplomacy. They think of, here's my toolkit, here's the biggest hammers I've got. How am I going to be prepared to actually hammer something? So it's interesting that he's being given the lead on all of this when he's not a diplomat, he's a military commander. Yeah, sure, put all the plans in place, definitely. You'd be foolish not to prepare and get a military ready and things like that, truly. But for him to lead it, it's obvious which way this is going to go. If you lead it this way, it's going to go that way. Now, if you're fed up with all the nonsense that you see in the mainstream media each day and all the lies and manipulation, in fact, we've just heard this about Apple News. This is going to be a big investigation. We'll cover this at some point. But if you're fed up of all of this and you want a genuinely good source of information, please consider subscribing here. I cover all of these things for you, as well as finance and economics, the things that are really important for your wallet. So if that sounds good, just click subscribe, and why not share this video with someone else? Okay, let's move on to France then, who has just launched. It's called Orion 26. It's the biggest military drill since the Cold War. So if you thought it was just Germany, no, it's France as well. Let me tell you what they have announced. So this is a war-fighting deployment designed to prepare the French and Allied forces for high-intensity warfare in Europe amid the growing threat of a Russian invasion of Europe. Do you know what? The more times I say it, the more I'm reinforcing it. But that's what this media, that's what they're doing. They're deliberately reinforcing it now. It's the same phrase throughout all the media in preparation for a Russian invasion of Europe. You know, language creates our world, if you understand the field of quantum linguistics. Language creates your reality. So the more this language is spoken into existence, the more likely it is that you're actually going to see something happen here. So Orion 26 is mobilizing 12,500 troops, 25 ships, 140 aircraft, as well as 24 allies as they rehearse warfighting drills with Russia. I mean, it's crazy. It actually says it in black and white. The drills are running for 3 months from February, so now, until late April. Now, of course, the other big story that's been out this week, this isn't today's news, but it came out this week, is that, I thought, in fact, it's kind of ironic, the news, because you had these two stories come out at the same time. British debt, GDP's through the floor, unemployment problems, the country's going bust, all this other stuff. And then they say, right, this is from the UK Defence Minister. Okay, they've just announced another £500 million package for weapons for Ukraine. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. You really can't make this stuff up. This is just going on and on and on. And the thing I find the most bizarre about this situation is that it's not just the fact they're sending £500 billion of weapons, but it's the kind of weapons that they are sending, right? So it's 1,000 multi-role missiles. So these are long-range missiles. When we've already had all of these warnings, right? The UK's had all of these warnings from Russia. If they continue to send long-range weapons that are being used to target inside Russia, then they consider that an act of war from the UK. And if this is going the way that everyone says it's going, including the politicians, that there's going to be some sort of major war in Europe, I mean, I'm worried about what's going to happen to the UK, truly. And we've already got the timeline, and it's crazy to think that my forecast from 2020 has almost played out now, and that was the 2027 forecast, right? We're almost there. We are a year away from that forecast, and it's wild to me how accurate that has lined up. And it's worrying. This isn't looking like it's going to get any better, especially as the US backs off and as they say, they've got their own problems to deal with China, and they need to prepare for China and everything else. So you've got all of these issues taking place at the same time. And I really do think we're going towards this new, I'm not going to say new world order, but it's a new world, right? It's a new order of the world. I think we'll say that. So I guess the main question is, are you ready for what we're going into? I mean, I know that I'm ready, and I've given you all of these tips over, socials here. I give a lot of tips in my newsletter, my email newsletter, and in the Patreon, the private community. I know you guys better be prepared because you've got all of the posts from me in there. But there's a lot of things that you should be doing right now, because this isn't me saying it. This is the EU and the different leaders of the different countries in Europe. They are saying that we will be in a war with Russia by the year 2030, if not sooner. Again, that's not me saying it. It is them saying it. And I guess that's the bulk of the iceberg. It's not the tip, it's the bulk of the iceberg. But remember what we talked about in Wednesday's video. I mean, that was a really important video on Wednesday, talking about how to protect yourself from the CBDC launch, the digital currency launch for Europe, where they've openly said it is going to collapse a number of banks because there can't be two currencies. It's a long story, but basically you can't have two currencies running at the same time with equal amounts of currency. It would cause hyperinflation. So what they're saying is the one currency would have to be destroyed as it ports over, but then they say you can only hold a small amount in the new currency. So where does the rest of that currency go? And that is the right question, my friends. And that's why I talk about off-ramps. You've got to have off-ramps. Look at what the crypto industry did to people. People were buying more and more crypto. So what did the governments do? They created these, they stopped all of the on-ramps, basically. So you couldn't really even get into it. I mean, you try and put money into crypto platforms now, good luck. There's all sorts of limits and restrictions and regulations. They've deliberately made it very, very difficult. And you think that's just crypto. What do you think they're going to do when the digital currency launches? It's going to be insane. And that's why I've got lots of different options. And that includes bank accounts outside of the EU or the UK. I mean, yes, I keep my funds in the UK or the Isle of Man, basically, still, I do. But I also have backup options. I wouldn't just be keeping all of my capital in one place right now. And little tips for you here. There's bank accounts that you can get now that are online, and you can have multi-currency accounts within one single account. You can get cheap residency visas like I've bought. I've bought cheap residency visas. You can buy gold and silver like we talked about. You can buy some physical gold and silver. There's so many options. You can buy crypto when it bottoms out. I don't think we've reached bottom yet. I'm still calling 40K on Bitcoin. I think that's about the bottom. And then you can load up again. Remember, buy low, sell high. What most people do is they buy high and they sell low. No, that's the wrong way around. And two other things you can do right away, really easy. Number one, make sure you subscribe to this channel, because I bring you all of this news regularly. I mean, every week I'm bringing you news. The newsletter does it every Friday, combines everything, right? You've got, those are two easy options. You've got free reports in the description of this video. I produce reports for you quite often now. I'm always making free reports for you, from gold and silver to finance to all sorts of different things. You can do the webinars. Some of these training webinars are 1 to 2 hours long, free. They won't cost you a penny. So you've got a lot of options. I mean, this year I'm really, you can see from my eyes, people say, you look tired. Yeah, I am tired. I just feel like we got a short window. I really do. There's a short window of time over the next few years where we've just got to get everything right. And I think those of us who get it right will do really well. And I think those who get it wrong are just gonna, I don't even want to say. It's not going to be good, let's just say that. Oh, and one other thing, I'll even throw in some of my paid courses with a massive discount coupon as well. So I'll leave that link in the description as well for you. The other big announcement out of Europe today, which I thought was very interesting, is that they've come up with this new, it always makes me laugh when they say, we've got this new, plan, this creative plan. Yeah, it's exactly the same plan that Canada did. It's called the Buy Europe plan, right? How did that work out for Canada? Have you seen the Canadian economy? Have you seen the job numbers right now? It is not looking good at all for my Canadian friends. I'm really sorry to say that as well. Truly, it's terrible what's going on. But Europe thinks that by them following the exact same pattern, that this is going to somehow work for them, even though it didn't work for Canada. It doesn't really make sense, but this is being led by, oh, of course, it's Macron. Macron's leading it. Germany, the Netherlands. Well, the Netherlands in trouble itself right now. If you've seen what they're looking to do, it hasn't come through yet, but this unrealized gains tax is something like 36%. This is insane. If they put that on, you're going to see a mass exodus of wealthy people leaving the Netherlands, because why would you pay tax on unrealized gains? It just doesn't make any sense. You're taking all the risk, and it outweighs anything. It really does. Terrible. Other countries have tried this and failed very, very miserably. Okay, let's take a seat here then. We've got a little friend just here as well. But I was reading through a lot of the plans here, and most of the government leaders are blaming EU red tape, and they are absolutely right. It's true, and a lot of the business leaders are saying it's just too difficult to do business in the EU. There's too many regulations, too much red tape, everything takes way too long, it's too bureaucratic to get anything done. And Ursula, of course, pushed back on this. What did she have to say? She did a big pushback, and she said, because of nationalistic leaders, right? So she's saying, all these leaders, if they just did what we told them to do, everything would be fine, but they're trying to be nationalistic. Yeah, of course that's the reason, Ursula. I mean, there's a reason they tried 4 times to get her out of power, I think. And she's still hanging on. Oh, our little friend's a little closer now, just sat here. And talking of all these tax exoduses, have you seen what's happening to California right now? Almost $1 trillion. That's not I didn't say that, by the way. Almost $1 trillion has left or is leaving California right now. Let me tell you who it is. This is because of the 2026 Billionaire Tax Act. So this is a one-time wealth tax of 5% on individuals who are billionaires or higher. So they say this is not an income tax, this is a wealth tax in order to equalize society. Okay, so they think they're going to raise $100 billion. Yeah, really, good luck with that, because the biggest, the wealthiest people have already left. They've gone. So we have had Mark Zuckerberg now, Facebook. He's left. He's just bought a $150 to $200 million house in Florida. Larry Page has gone, Sergey Brin, Larry Ellison, Peter Thiel. They're all going. These are the biggest, wealthiest, some of the wealthiest people on earth. They are leaving California, and the governor still doesn't get it. He just doesn't get it. You'd have thought that he'd have learned from what happened in Washington. Nope. And let me give you the official Exodus poll here. So this was from the AWB, Association of Washington Businesses. And this is what's happened since the millionaire tax was introduced. Okay, you ready? And this was over net worth of $1 million or more, not 1 billion. 44% of business owners are now either considering moving their residency, closing their business, or already have. 44%. And this is on top of the millionaire and billionaire exodus that's happened from the UK. That is another exodus that we have seen. A couple more short ones then to end here, and that is that if you haven't seen already, China has actually sent a memo to their banks to decrease the amount of US treasuries that they hold. This is obviously part of this ongoing plan to diversify away from US treasuries, and it's interesting because this is exactly what we talked about before, where I explained, goodness me, okay, this crow almost just took out the camera there. I'm not sure why he doesn't like the camera. But yeah, it's part of the plan to reduce treasuries and increase gold reserves, which is why I've been saying since 2020 here on the channel about gold and silver. And honestly, people have been asking me about the current dip. Don't even worry about the dip, because you never buy at the peak anyway, right? You just dollar cost average, you buy as you go, and you just hold it for the long run. Okay, if you're buying gold and silver because you want to hold it for a week or two, you're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong. Okay, you buy gold and silver to hold it for the long run, because that is real money. The paper in your pocket isn't. It's fiat, and it will one day go to zero. All right, well, I think that wraps it up for today then. Thank you so much for being a subscriber here, sharing this video with someone, and definitely check out the links in the description below. Apart from that, take care, God bless, see you on the next one.